Good evening, everyone. Mike Breen on hand as we welcome you to One-on-One with Jeremy Lin, where tonight we have an in-depth conversation with the man responsible for Linsanity, one of the great times in New York Knicks history. Earlier this week, we caught up with Jeremy from Beijing. Hey, Jeremy, great to see you. So appreciate to have the time with you. It's been a fun week for Knicks fans because they've been enjoying Linsanity and really some of the most exciting moments in franchise history all week long as we've been replaying the games. It's 8 years ago this past February. Sometimes it seems like it was just a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes it seems like forever ago. I always tell people, Jeremy, when they ask me about what were some of the best times of my broadcasting career, I tell them that, I broadcast a lot of big games, some historic games, but I've never had more fun in my career than that stretch of basketball. The joy that you brought to the team, to the organization, and just to NBA fans around the world was just off the charts. When you think back, what's the number one thing that sticks into your head?
Man, the number one thing I would say is just the fan support. Since then I've gone through a lot, highs and lows. I've been, fortunate enough to win an NBA championship and gone through the championship parade and things like that. And that was incredible. But really just the electric, it's just what happened in New York during that stretch. And it was just, it's not something that I'll ever experience again. It's not really anything that even an NBA player may experience. It was that unique, and it was all built around just how the fans were just on a different level in terms of the energy, the excitement. That's really what I remember, and that's what brings a huge smile to my face when I think back.
Take us back to, you get signed in December, had the stint with Golden State, and then Houston was a possibility, but now the Knicks sign you with not a lot of fanfare. What were your expectations when you were signed, and what did the team tell you they expected?
Honestly, I didn't really hear much from the team. The team was just like, we picked you up off waivers. And I didn't really know what to expect because I'm looking at the roster and there's, so many point guards, there's Mike Bibby, Tony Douglas, a lot of players. And then they had just drafted Shump too, Baron Davis. And so I'm kind of looking at the roster like, why do they want me? And then I remember going into the first practice and it was like, hey guys, new players, Jeremy. Anyways, and then they just moved around and went about the practice, and it was like as if I was didn't exist, and I barely learned. I couldn't, because that was during the lockout season, so they were just trying to focus on the players in the rotation, and they were just trying to get those players, the first 8 players, to be on the same page. So it was just really awkward for me. I didn't really feel a part of the team for the first month. I don't even know if people, everybody knew my name, from the staff. And I didn't, I really didn't have expectations other than, look, I'm fighting for my NBA life right now. I've gotten cut twice in the last 2 weeks, and I'm fighting for my NBA life, and I just need to do whatever it takes to stay on a roster as long as I can. And that's all I was thinking about.
Now, even though obviously you had a lot to prove, and as you say, you're fighting for your NBA life, did you have confidence coming in because you were playing really well? Back then it was called the D League, now the G League. But what kind of confidence did you have in terms of an NBA career?
I would say my confidence was young and raw, but I did have some confidence, right? My rookie year, I came in and I was more stunned. And I couldn't, and I didn't realize that I had so many mental barriers my rookie year. Then I went to the D League, at that time the D League, and it became obvious to me okay, I'm not just a D League player. I'm more than a D League player. And so and then I got the chance to match up against Steph and Monte every single day in practice my rookie year. And so I'm going head to head with these guys, getting so much better, learning so much. And I remember going into that lockout and I was like, I'm definitely an NBA player. I'm definitely an NBA player. But again, it wasn't like I was expecting oh, I'm an NBA player, I'm going to be a starter, and I'm going to have Linsanity. Not at all. I was just I'm an NBA player, and I just need to continue to work and get better. And I think right now I have the ability to be a backup point guard, and I need some time to grow into that. And that's kind of where I was that's how I was imagining my second year. Like, I can end up being a solid backup point guard, and I'll have some hiccups, but I'll get there. And then it just went like that.
Well, before we get into individual games, do want to ask you, as you say, the team was going forward with their rotation and had to get things figured quickly because of the lockout. But for you, the importance of, and this is for any NBA player, going to get that opportunity with the right coaching staff, with the right spot on a roster, with the right team. How about the role of Mike D'Antoni and his system, and then a couple of his assistants, which played a pretty key role, Kenny Atkinson and Mike's brother, Dan D'Antoni, in terms of them trying to get Mike saying, hey, this kid can play. We need to give him a chance. What do you remember from that?
I just remember in the beginning, again, fighting for my NBA life, I'm like, I got to do everything right. I'm a professional. And so I'm always trying to be the first one in, the last to leave. And so and at that time, I was kind of working out with Jerome Jordan and Steve Novak and other guys, Ronaldo Balkman and other guys who weren't really getting any run. And I was, come in before and I'll stay after. But Kenny was always the guy who was there. And so, if no one was there, I would be totally okay working out by myself. But then, like, every time I got there, Kenny would be there. And so we just developed a natural bond. Before you knew it, like, 7:30 a.m. or even like 2-3 hours before other players are showing up, like, we're in there watching film and getting individual work. Then we're getting work with some of the other guys. And then after, we're getting more work and we're playing. And so that's where I developed that bond. And again, like, I started to realize, wow, this system and the way that they coach spacing, the way that they coach pace, and the way that everything is built, I'm like, the game's a lot easier. And I remember in practice, right? Like, we would play practice, and then practice scrimmages and stuff like that with the players who weren't in the rotation. And I would do really well. And then I got sent to the D-League team, and I played one game and I had a triple-double with the Erie Bayhawks. And then I was like, and then I came back and I would get put in during, like, garbage time. But during those garbage minutes, like, I was doing really well. I would come in, sometimes it'd be like 5 minutes and I would end up with 8 points and 3 assists. And I'm like, dang, this is like, either I got a lot better or the system, or I don't know what's going on. And I think from there, that's when guys were making a push. And I remember in the beginning, like, one of the assistant coaches was like, you know why you can't get in the game? We don't put you in the game because you play basketball like it's a video game. Like, you're playing like it's a video game, like it's like like street ball. And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I mean, I'm a dynamic downhill player, and so that's how I play the game. I'm aggressive, overly aggressive at times, and that's how I play the game. But I think eventually they started to appreciate that and realize, like, oh, maybe our team kind of needs some of that. And so then the assistant coaches started pushing Mike. Sorry, Coach. I should call him Coach D'Antoni, but I'm closer with him, so I just call him Mike sometimes. But and then he just and he gave me a chance, and I'm super. I owe him, my entire 10-year NBA career is, a big part of that is because he gave me that shot in the first place.
Jeremy, so now we go to the first game, the New Jersey Nets game. Team was struggling. I think 2-11 in the previous 13 games. You played a little bit the night before in Boston, and now you get a chance to play some real minutes. What do you remember your mindset going into the game?
My mindset going into the game was, if I don't do well, I'm getting cut. And if I don't do well, my NBA career is over. And so that was something that my agent had, made me aware of. And the night before in Boston, I played it safe. And my agent, Roger Montgomery, was just like, hey, man, this might be it for you. You cannot play it safe. And I just remember I was praying a lot, and I was just like, thinking like, hey, the most God-glorifying thing I could do is just to play my brand of basketball. And if I fall flat on my face, I can accept that. But the one thing I couldn't accept is to go out not swinging. And so I just had tremendous peace. Again, I wrote about this a little bit last week, but I struggled heavily with anxiety before games, like really, really bad anxiety, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat at times. And Before that game though, like I was calm as ever. I mean, I remember it like it was so different. I was so calm, and I was just sitting there the whole time like, all right, come on, coach, give me a chance. Sub me in, please. And, you know, in the first quarter, our point guard got in foul trouble early, got 2 fouls, picked up 2 fouls, and he called me. And I just went up to the scores table, and I was like, here it is. Like, and I remember a line that Roger had said to me earlier that day. He's like, no matter what you do, like in tonight's game, you have to play Jeremy Lin basketball. And so as I went to the scores table, I was like, got to play Jeremy Lin basketball, got to play for God and trust, and be okay with anything that happens. And so, the first half ended and I had 6 points in the first half, and my career high was 12 at that time. So I'm almost like I might have had 6 or 8 points. So, and to me, I was like, dude, if the game ended like right now and I ended with 6 points, like, I mean, that's not terrible. That's half of my career high, and I still have another half of basketball to play, but I was just comfortable. That first time I was comfortable with making plays. I was just in a groove, and I had energy. I had desperate energy because our team had played a back-to-back-to-back. And so I had this energy about me that maybe my teammates didn't have because they were so tired from playing heavy minutes the previous 2 nights as well. And then in the second half, I can't even explain to you what happened. Like, I don't remember it all. It was a blur. But, like, I just kind of, like, blacked out and was in the moment and in the zone. I started doing stuff like celebrating. Like, I was doing this. I was swinging. It was just like I let out, like, 18 months of emotion, built up anger or hurt from maybe, my past NBA experiences. And I kind of just let it all out in one half of basketball.
And it might sound overly dramatic, but it is true. After that night, your life changed dramatically.
Without a doubt. I mean, it was got to be one of the biggest single, 24-hour or overnight changes in lifestyle ever. It was incredible what just happened from one day to the next. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, before that, I couldn't even get into the arena without them like being like, MSG. I'm talking about the home arena. Like, they're like, who are you? Like, I'm a player. They're like, are you a trainer? I'm like, no, I'm a player. I remember one of the security guards like, Jerome Lin? We don't have a Jerome Lin here. And I'm like, no, it's Jeremy. And then all of a sudden it was like, everyone's like, dude, like, that was awesome. Oh, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, you're Linsanity. Now everyone's calling me Linsanity. So, like, it was legitimately overnight.